Hello all, and welcome to this week's beer review, which I am dubbing the Don't Touch Your Face beer review because, well, the new modern plague is fully upon us, and the world is, slowly coming apart at the seams. It's kind of like 1918 and 1921 all at once right now. So, yeah, plenty of reasons to go and drink beer, but all the bars are closed. But Three Peaks is still doing growler fills. Huzzah! So, what did we fill our growler with today? Well, our growler is filled with something from Big Island Brewhaus, and it is Jabba the Gose, which is, of course, a Gose. And you may be wondering why Jabba? Jabba the Hutt, and Gose has nothing to do with. That doesn't even rhyme like Hutt. And that is because the two adjuncts in this particular beer are Jabba berries, which are a type of tropical berry. It's a strange one, very deep purple color. People often make fruit wines of it here in Hawaii. So it does have a color element to it. I've never actually eaten them raw, and I don't think you actually can eat them raw. I think it's one of those things you kind of have to pulp up in order to use properly. But where was I? Oh, yes. Anyways, yeah. Jabba berries and alai sea salt. And, excuse me, alai sea salt is the red tinged sea salt that is taken from parts of Hawaii, most notably parts of the island of Kauai shorelines, in which the salt pans are slightly tinged by the deep red iron-rich soil of the area. So you kind of have like this sort of reddish-pink salt, sea salt. And it's a very famous import. It has an interesting flavor if you are the kind of person who goes and discerns different salt flavors. So, Jabba and alai sea salt. And, so finally I'm getting this Gose that is made with Hawaiian sea salt, something that I've been talking about for quite some time. And unsurprisingly, it of course comes from Big Island Brewhaus, one of the most underrated local breweries out there. I really hope that they and all the other great breweries, and even not so great breweries, and growler fill places and restaurants and all the other places in this island, they're currently suffering through this, I'm not going to say economic downturn, but really complete and utter economic collapse, survive and continue making more beer, because especially as these days and weeks go by, we're really going to fucking need it. Sorry for the language, but it is really the truth. If you're watching this, almost certainly you went through it, unless you've been living in a hole for like 5 years, or you got a time machine and you can somehow watch videos, from the future, or say, I don't know, YouTube is still around in 25 years and, you weren't around for when the shit hit the fan, as it were. And yes, shit really is hitting the fan in regards to the world right now, but, that's enough yammering. Why don't we go and enjoy some delicious beer while we still have a chance before, teams of crazed raiders come and take all of my supplies, or I die in this bed behind here coughing. Jesus Christ, it's like I'm joking, but it's still very grim. This is 5.0 ABV and 18 IBU units. Of course, being a Gose, it is, sea salt instead of, really hop flavored. So, of course, IBUs are going to be fairly low. Let's get to this, shall we? There we go. Ooh. Going to be pouring it into a Belgian glass. Almost certainly this would look a lot better in a stronger light environment, but it is what it is. I'm going to see if I can pull my light out a little bit so we can get a better sort of light situation here. Kind of a pinkish brown. In the light, pink kind of comes out a little bit more. Not by much. Let me go and see if I can bring this around so you guys can see it. Problem is, am I going to be able to get it back on there? Yeah, you can't really see it. Opaque, obviously. Let me go and put this down so I can clip this back on. Okay. With a fluffy to fizzy white head. That is redolent of tropical fruits and minerals. Rhubarb. Almost like burgundy wine kind of notes as well. A mineral edge underneath that, very much a mineral base underneath. You know, the other pictures of this one I've seen have been a little bit more pink and a bit less brown, but, you know, it's really a beautiful beer in some of the pictures that you see it in. Bit more pink, a bit more translucent, so the light shines through better. But, you know what? Visual aesthetics is something that's pretty low on my list of what makes a great beer. And all in all, it's a very interesting nose here. Wow, that's some fairly intense flavor all around. Let's start with the finish, the lasting finish. Earthiness, which is not something you kind of get from a beer, but what you're getting here, mineral earthiness in the long finish. With hints of overripe fruit. And also some of the malt base as well, oddly enough. Crackery sort of, almost a little bit of crackeriness in the finish, I don't know why. In the front, big juiciness. Nice slap in the face of sour, but not overly so. It's not tongue-scorchingly sour. Saltiness, slight saltiness that appears in the very, very front and sort of pops its head up throughout the entire tasting process. The middle, almost a brininess there. Pleasant, because it really combines well with the sourness. And while it's sour, it doesn't have a citric edge to the sourness. It's definitely got its own way of being there. Despite the fruit notes being up front, and I'm not saying fruit notes like in the fruit notes in the sense of red wine kind of fruit notes. Now that sort of matures out a bit. Overall, refreshing in the way that grapefruit juice is refreshing to me. In that there is a great amount of flavor there, and that's not for everyone. This might not even be for many, even some likers of Gose. Obviously, it's a Gose by the addition of the salt there, which is quite apparent. This is the first time I've ever had a Gose where there is an aspect of brininess to it. By no means is it like drinking seawater or anything, but you definitely get salt-like notes in there. And that's something that's utterly fascinating to me. Refreshing, but still thick on the mouthfeel. Why is it thick on the mouthfeel? I'm guessing because of some of the salt in there. Obviously the berry addition, as well as I think it's very high minerality here, and I think maybe that saltiness, brininess is more the minerality from the alive sea salt than from actual like sodium chloride aspect. The other minerals that come along with the sea salt rather than the sodium chloride itself. You definitely get more of the fruit flavor on the sides and in the effervescent notes. There isn't. I don't know the flavor of Jabotica too well. All the times I've had Jaboticas has been as part of a fermented beverage, so I can't really say, oh yes, there's definitely a Jabotica note to this, but it's a unique fruitiness to it. Kind of secondary to the other flavors in there, the sourness and the salt slash brininess of it, and even I'd say it's almost on par with like the malt base, which again, like I said, shows up a bit in the finish, just a little bit. There's got to be a word for, something that is refreshing, but you can't really say it's got like, refreshing mouthfeel. This is definitely there in the mouth, but it's not an oily there-ness. Perhaps it's a mineral slash pH there-ness. That long finish is just so interesting to me. There's also leaves a little feeling in the mouth, and the same, and not in the same. I guess in the same way that you can say some overly hopped beers have like a tannic finish in the mouth. This is also leaving a certain kind of finish in the mouth that I wouldn't say it's tannic, but it's definitely like, there's feeling in the mouth. Wouldn't say it's unpleasant. I wouldn't say it's pleasant. It's sort of there. As it warms up, the fruit notes and the sour notes are kind of melding together to really create this nice, almost wine-like, slightly effervescent wine-like sort of mouthfeel and taste. But at the same time, still being definitely not wine. It is evocative a bit of wine. And if most of my, I'm probably sure that there's like some sort of effervescent wine of some sort that I could really go and pinpoint it, but unfortunately most of my wine drinking days are nearly 20 years gone, which is kind of long when you think about it. Why did I give up drinking wine? Well, because it was is one, more expensive than beer, and two, it was, I think wine is it's very difficult to just drink by itself and talk about by itself. It is probably of the alcoholic beverages the most social of beverages. It's very difficult to go and drink wine by yourself. It just doesn't feel right. Which is why you'll see very few wine reviews on my channel. So, what can I say about Jabba the Gose? This is, I definitely say, they said it was in the description a Leipziger, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, Leipziger style Gose. So, I would say, yeah, there definitely does have more aspects of the old world style there rather than the new world style of Gose. which at this point I kind of think is sort of dividing into two separate New World styles, sort of entry-level sours, and oh my god, you just scorched my, you just scorched my tongue off sort of sourness. This is definitely trying to go for old school, in which there's a lot of delicate notes there, a pretty robust sourness at the same time, but still a lot of delicate nuance. And it's a very interesting beer. It might veer off a little bit too far in some directions for someone who is trying to, what I'm trying to say is this the style? 100% the style in the old world Gose style? Oh heck no, but it's taking it somewhere really, really interesting in my opinion. Something in a place where your mileage may vary. I think, some of the tastes that are in here, some of the tactile feelings it leaves in your mouth would be something that a lot of people would find unpleasant, but I find interesting or pleasant. So, Jabba de Gose by Big Island Brewhaus. Definitely give this one a shot. If you find it, either at Big Island Brewhaus or the Village Bottle Shop or Three Peaks, Hawaii, in Kailua. If you're in Kailua like me, support your local brewers, support your local distributors, support your local vendors. They need it now more than ever since the tourist industry has cratered. And that, folks, is your beer review for tonight. Cheers.